Are you tired of waking up every day to 0 new clients in your business? Well, in today's video, I am going to teach you the most effective lead generation strategy for consultants, coaches, and service-based businesses that drives over 200 leads every single month on autopilot into my business. And if you can master this, then you will begin to see a multiple six-figure and seven-figure empire in no time. Let's get to work. Okay, we all know and understand how important lead generation is to the growth of your business. But one thing that might be missing from the way that you are thinking right now is that the key to successfully growing a business based off of lead generation is to have a consistent influx of inbound leads into your business at all times. When most consultants approach lead generation or coaches or service providers from the perspective of, oh my God, I got to get some leads so I can sell them and then get them closed and then get more leads and sell them and get them closed, what you're ultimately doing is not creating a consistent lead generation process. And that is what I am going to teach you today. How to have a consistent lead process where every single day you've got 10, 15, 20 new leads coming in, how to nurture and keep those leads on board so that when they're ready to make a buying decision, they talk to you. And when you're ready to sell to them, they're already there. This lead generation process is one that I need you to understand. And step number one in being able to successfully do this is understand who you are and what you are asking people to pay you for. Yes, that's right. You have to truly understand who you are.
Go! What's your sole purpose in this army?
To do whatever you tell me, drill sergeant.
God damn it, Gump!
They are hiring you as a coach, a consultant, service provider, someone like that. And ultimately, they are paying you for expertise. They're paying you for your experience. They're paying you for your ability to give them something, teach them something, or do something for them that they cannot figure out on their own. That means that they are relying on you for success. And in order for them to pay you as an expert, that means that they have to see you as an expert. And so this lead generation strategy is directly tied to that fact. You are selling your skills, you are selling your entrepreneurial processes and experience, and you are also selling your intellectual property. And that is what they are paying you for. So in order for them to pay for that, because that's ultimately what they need, an expert to solve their problems, then you've got to make sure that you employ a lead generation strategy that makes you come off as an expert. Perfect example. If you hire an attorney, you hire an attorney because they know the law. And you don't want to hire an attorney that's asking you questions on what should be in a contract. You don't hire an attorney that's not sure what to do. You're hiring an attorney because they're going to keep it real with you. They know what's best for you and they're going to tell you how to get it done. And that is exactly what your leads are expecting from you. Now, in order to get those leads, you have to show people that is exactly what you have. Expertise. You have to make sure that it is clear to your audience that you know what you're doing and that you do it well and that you are the perfect person to be in their lives and to help solve that problem. If you don't do a good job at doing that, then you aren't going to have that constant influx of leads that you are ultimately looking for. And if that's the case, you're going to then be in this space where you constantly feel like you are struggling to sell, struggling to make money in your business because you don't have enough leads. And that brings me to exactly what this lead generation strategy is. You ready? Well, it is the #1 lead generation strategy that I recommend for all coaches, consultants, and even service providers. And that is creating inbound leads through content marketing. Yeah. Let me walk you through how you can create a content marketing strategy, process, and workflow in your business in order to make sure that, like me, you have at least 200 leads a month coming into your business that ultimately, when you're ready and when they're ready, you can sell to, which means that you never have a break in the customers that are coming on board. So step #1 in creating the most effective lead generation strategy of the gods is to understand your target market. Yes, of course. You knew I was going to say that, right? Because you've heard it from a million different people. But let me put it in perspective for you as to why. In order for you to be seen as an expert that is solving a very specific problem for someone, you have to be intimately involved with what they perceive their problem is. That way, you can directly address whatever the problem is and say, here's your problem. I understand your problem, and here's the solution that I am an expert in providing in order to solve your problem. That is when people are going to be willing to pay you, in most instances as a coach, consultant, or service provider, big bucks in order to solve their problem. So you have to really, truly, intimately understand who your target audience is. Now, I think that sometimes entrepreneurs, consultants, coaches, whoever gets really hung up in this whole concept of an ICA or an ideal customer avatar. And I think that one thing that's not clearly explained at any given time is that you have to find an ideal customer avatar for each product or service that you are providing. Sometimes people think that if you pick one, that's the only one that you're ever going to have in your entire business journey forever and ever. And that's just not the case. If you're offering a certain type of service or a certain type of coaching package or a certain type of consulting package, there's going to be a very specific audience for that product or service. And that is the audience that you have to get to know very intimately when you decide that you are ready to sell that product or service. Inside of your business, inside of your entrepreneurial journey, you can have multiple ideal customers for different products and services. I mean, I've been in business for over 20 years. Damn! And I've had multiple types of customers who are ideal for the consulting services that I provide. When I first started my business in the very early days, I was focused on startup nonprofit organizations, NGOs that were international and based overseas. Then I moved into nonprofit organizations in the States who had a real true need for marketing and fundraising support. Then I moved on to nonprofit organizations who needed overall operations support. Then I moved on to a business that was focused on businesses of all sizes, small businesses, not just nonprofit, for-profit and nonprofit, that had operationally HR benefit package needs and concerns. Then I moved on. You see where I'm going with this? My ICA has changed over the years based upon the product or service that I'm offering. There is nothing wrong with having multiple ICAs. You just can't have multiple ICAs or ideal customer avatars or ideal customers for every single product or service inside of it. So I can't have two ICAs for one product or service because most likely what I am doing is not going to serve their primary pain points or needs. So how do you understand your target market? Well, first you have to define who they are and what their pain points are. You have to research them intimately and find out exactly what their problems are. And you got to utilize online tools to gather that market research and to gather those insights. Now, when I'm working with someone, for instance, one of my VIPs in a VIP day, and we are specifically working on a lead generation process for their business, and I do that, by the way. So if you are interested in working with me to create a custom lead generation process in your business, we will do that over the course of one day, 6 to 8 hours. And during that day, we will map out your ICA avatar. We will do that research together. So if you're interested, go ahead and click the link below to apply for a VIP day. And hopefully at the time of you watching this video, the applications are still open. I do close them once I get pretty booked up, but I do open them again from time to time. As of the time of this video, it is still open. So make sure that you check the link out in the comments below or in the description. And I might be able to help you actually create this process in your own business. But anyway, getting back to researching them. So you've got to research them, and there's all kinds of tools and things like that that I recommend that you do when you're researching. As a matter of fact, if you want me to go really in depth into the best way to research your target audience, put research CP in the comments below, and I will put that video together if there's enough comments down there requesting it. But you've got to make sure that you're researching them and you're online, you're finding out where they hang out, and then ultimately that you're developing a buyer persona, meaning a fictional representation of who the ideal client is. And you will actually have kind of a dossier, a printed piece of paper that will spell out all the details about this particular customer, because you have to know them intimately in order to begin to create content that is telling them, I can help solve your problem. Much like I don't know, a YouTube channel, right? So one of my favorite tools that I use to create my buyer personas, and I recommend it on my VIP days and to all of my students in my online courses, is Up Close and Persona. And you can access Up Close and Persona at the link that's right here. Make sure you check it out. They've got an amazing customer dossier tool where you can plug in information and it will actually print out a one-sheeter for you about your customer that you can actually use internally and for yourself as you develop your content marketing strategy. But ultimately, the first step in generating leads is understanding who those leads are. And once you have a complete and thorough understanding of who they are, and you know what they need, what they're looking for, what their pain points are, you are gonna move on to step number 2 in having awesome leads flowing in every single day into your business. Now, step number 2 in this lead generation process is going to be to create a lead generation process or funnel. Now, I just got into this conversation with someone already because they were trying to ask me what the difference is between a process, a workflow, and a funnel. And I'm going to clear this up for you as well. There is no difference. There is no difference. My entire career, I have been building processes and workflows for clients as an operations expert, right? Go into businesses, help them figure out how to streamline things, make things more efficient, fix things, and get things in the growing direction, right? That's what I do. And back in the day, before there was an internet or there was a Russell Brunson, you used to map those things out on paper, and most of the steps that were done inside of those processes and workflows and those SOPs were done manually by people. So you always had a responsible party for a certain step, and it was usually someone on your staff that currently existed or someone that you needed to hire to add to your team and to your staff. Well, lo and behold, my boy, who I absolutely adore, Russell Brunson, came out with sales funnels. And these were, in essence, taking those sales processes or funnel processes or whatever processes and automating them, making them completely internet-based, digital, and online. Funnels changed the game, not only for him and his pocketbooks, y'all, but also for those of us out there who already were process oriented and wanted to find ways to streamline the steps in our processes in order to make them more automated, where manually you didn't have to rely on someone actually physically sending out an email or actually following up with someone, and you could actually put them in a system and make them automated. So the answer to the question is sales funnels, sales processes, lead generation funnels, lead generation processes, lead generation workflows are all the same thing. The big difference is now with the word funnel, a lot more of those steps can be automated and you can use technology to get them done. So I have transitioned from just working with my clients on mapping those out and figuring out who on their team can get them done to actually working with my clients on mapping them all out, creating their sales workflows or their lead generation processes and workflows and actually getting them automated. And that is the next step in your lead generation process. Once you know who your customer and client is from step number 1, it is time for you to actually map out what your entire process is going to look like. Now, for me, process equals workflow equals funnel, and it automates your inbound lead process, which allows leads to automatically come into your business every single day on autopilot without you having to do very much. And the best way to have that happen is, in order to take and to maximize that, is to take the time in the very beginning to actually map it out. Now, I, as you can see, love mapping things out, and I use a good old-fashioned whiteboard most of the time when I'm working with a client or a student, especially in a VIP day, to map out the entire process. And we go through it step by step of exactly what you want your lead process or workflow to look like. And it is definitely fun. But generally, if I wanted to really quickly run you through what a process might look like, it would say something like, you put out there a freebie or an automated lead magnet that will draw the lead in. They go to a landing page where they enter their name and their email address because they are excited about receiving whatever free piece of content you're providing them with. And that free piece of content is directly tied to what their pain points are and what they need. You have created it based upon what your expertise is, and you're going to give it to them for free. free. Well, in order for them to get it, they got to go to a landing page, put in their name and email address in order for that to be emailed to them for them to download that free tool. That means that you now have a lead inside of your business. And then you're going to go through a nurturing process where you're going to continue to bring them value and begin to build that relationship more long-term with them, continuing to provide them with support and to show that you are the expert and that you can solve the problem that they continually experience, and that when they're ready to pull the plug on trying to figure it out on their own, they will ultimately come to you as their consultant, as their coach, or as their service provider to get the thing done. And once they've done that, then they convert from a lead into a prospect and a prospect into a customer. Now, obviously, it can be a lot more intense and more detailed than that. And again, it's something that I do with my clients directly in my VIP days. And if you kind of want me to really do a step-by-step, I think I've already done a video on it, but let me know in the comments below and I will try to crank out a more updated one. But that's really the second step. You understand your target market in step 1, and in step 2, you map out what you want their flow to be as they come into your business. And then it is important for you to make sure that you are moving on to step number 3. Now, step number 3 is to make sure that you conduct a content audit and dump. This is my favorite part of the process. Now that you understand what your client, prospect, and lead, your ideal customer's pain points are, and you've created that workflow of what they're going to go through once you find them, it is time for you to dump all of the information that you have in your head in order to address the primary pain points and problems. So you're going to evaluate any existing content assets that you have. Trust me, if you've been doing consulting work or coaching work, or even if you've been dreaming them up and you've been creating different things, you've got some type of content already in your arsenal. If you don't have content in your arsenal, meaning worksheets or workbooks or anything like that, it's time to figure out what you can create. And this is the moment where I like to just get a glass of wine, sit cross-legged on a bed, actually have a big notebook and just start thinking. So I have one sheet over here that lists all of my ideal customers' pain points, and I have another sheet over here where I am writing down content, pieces of information, training, tips and tools, resources that I can provide to address that pain point. And I just start making a list. That is what I want you to do. Make a list of everything that you sell, that you do, that you know, meaning your intellectual property that is tied to what your ideal customer will be paying you to do for them, and brainstorm those content ideas that align with what your objectives, what your target customer, and what your brand voice is trying to put out there. And once you have that brainstorm list, you're able to use this as a basis for step number 4, which is a content plan. If you like what I have said to you so far, I just want to interrupt really quick before we get into number 4 and the final couple steps and ask you to make sure that you give me a like. Like does so much for this channel, and it ultimately allows me to make sure that I know that you are feeling the content that I'm giving you, but also to let the algorithm know, hey, CP wants to get to 50,000 subscribers sooner rather than later. So go ahead, YouTube algorithm, and pump things up a bit because we like what she's giving. Now, step number 4 in this lead generation process is to develop a content plan and an editorial calendar. This, my love, is such a critical step. You have to outline the types of content that you're going to create based upon that brainstorming list that I just told you to put together, such as blog posts, or if you're going to do videos, or if you're going to do infographics, or if you're going to do podcasts, or if you're going to do some combination of all of the above. I do recommend, however, that you pick one, start with one, because it's overwhelming enough when you just got one. And if you keep adding a whole lot, you're just not going to be able to keep it consistent. And consistency is the key. So determine how frequently you want to put this content out, depending upon the type of publication, and keep it real with yourself, boo, okay? Don't say, I'm going to put out 3 videos a week, because making videos ain't easy. I did that. I thought I was going to put out 2 CPTV videos every single week. And once I tried it for a few weeks, I realized I ain't got all of this time. I need to back that up a bit.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis?
So once you've kind of mapped out and figured out what types of content you're going to create, really determine the frequency of it, but keep it real with yourself and make it a doable plan. The worst thing that you can do is set yourself up for failure to the point where you won't produce content at all because you've overdone it. It's like the first day back at the gym after 3 years and you go all in, and so you never show up at the gym again. Okay, I think we've all been there at some point. So you want to determine the frequency, and then you want to continue to brainstorm out all of your content ideas, figuring out exactly what your content ideas are going to be that align with your objectives, and then ultimately get it ready to plug in so that you know what weeks you're going to be doing what and how often you're going to do it, because consistency is key. You cannot nurture your leads, you cannot bring in leads consistently if you're not putting out consistent content. Oftentimes when I hear people tell me, I don't have enough leads, CP, how do I get leads? 9 times out of 10 I say, well, how often are you putting out content? Oh, well, periodically I'm doing it. And I'm like, well, honey, that means you're going to periodically be getting leads. So putting it out consistently means consistent leads. You can't have one without the other. And that brings me to step number 5, which is creating and distributing compelling, valuable content. You hear what I said, right? Valuable. And sometimes I get the question, well, how do I know what's valuable? The only way you're going to know that what you're putting out is valuable is if you understand your customer. That takes me all the way back to step number 1, my love. That's a part of the reason why you have to have it. So it will be valuable if it's addressing pain points. If you understand your customer's needs and you're selling products to address those pain points, it will be valuable. Do not doubt yourself. I struggle with that all the time, imposter syndrome stuff, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is gonna be good. I don't know if it's gonna be helpful. And then you guys totally blow up my ego with your comments about how helpful it's been, and I know I'm on the right track. So you've got to make sure that you're distributing. The best way to distribute it is to produce high quality content that addresses the pain points and the issues that your target audience are experiencing, and then build a very strong online presence. It's the cheapest, most effective way to distribute compelling, high quality content that brings value. That means that you got to have a good website going on. Doesn't have to be all elaborate and expensive, but it's got to be good, and it's got to also contain your content. And that you also need to make sure that you've got strong social media presence on your ideal customer's primary platform. You don't have to be on all of them. It's okay to be on all of them, but you need to make sure that you are picking one primary pillar and one primary platform to start with so that you can be consistent and maximize that. And then you can kind of grow into the other ones. But regardless of which ones you choose, you want to make sure, again, that you are being consistent with them and that you're actually putting it out and that it meets the needs of your audience. And I always recommend, as a part of this lead generation strategy, is that you give away freebies. Give away freebies and lead magnets. That's why they're called lead magnets. They are going to magnetize your ideal customer directly to you. So you've got to make sure you're producing them and that you're giving them away. Because once you say that you're going to give it away, the person who exactly needs that is going to come to your website or come to your landing page, give you their name and their email, and boom, you, my love, have a new lead. Now, of course, I'm not going to leave you hanging because I actually have a lead magnet cheat sheet, which is a absolutely free tool that I think you're going to love. And it actually lists out all kinds of different lead magnets that you can use to produce in your business. You can grab that by going to CherylCperez.com, lead magnet cheat sheet. The link is right below. It will also be in the description below, so make sure you check that out. And again, this strategy is something that we can create together in your business in an entire day, one-on-one, customized specifically for you. And that includes the ICA research and the lead magnet production and all that kind of good stuff. So if you would like to apply to be a VIP, then make sure that you check out that link in the comments in the description below as well. So you see, my love, you do not have to worry about waking up every single day to 0 leads in your business. You can have a consistent stream of leads every single day in your business for you to be able to pull from. And once you do, it becomes a simple process of working and putting out promotions and continuing to nurture that relationship, and then boom, you'll have consistent sales. It is not rocket science, especially as a consultant. The easiest way to generate leads is to put out your expertise in that intellectual property, and content marketing is where it's at. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Please make sure that you check us out again next week, where we're going to talk about another critical critical consulting process for consultants, coaches, and service providers. And until next time, my loves, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Mwah!